Your lower back is locked up tight, and your front shoulder feels like it's bruised from the inside out. Man, even gripping your morning cup of coffee feels like a major athletic achievement. If this sounds familiar, you've probably asked yourself, is my body just breaking down, or am I doing something wrong?
So here's our roadmap for the explainer today. 1. The morning after problem. 2. The physiology of aging. 3. 3 big training mistakes. And finally, number 4, which is our absolute main focus for today, 3 steps for faster recovery.
All right, let's start with section 1, the morning after problem.
Whether it's locked joints, those ridiculously tight calves, or aching shoulders, if you started combat sports later in life, or you've been at it for years and are just now hitting that over 40 threshold, the physical toll is undeniable. But here is the critical, absolute game-changing takeaway from our source material. You are not too old for combat sports, and your body isn't broken. However, if you try to train a 40-year-old body using a 20-year-old's playbook, boxing is literally going to break you down every single week. It's just a completely different game now.
That brings us to section 2, the physiology of aging. Now, what's really interesting about this is why you're actually so sore. Think about the difference between these two states. When a 20-year-old throws a massive right hand, their body relies on elasticity. Their tendons act like thick rubber bands, effortlessly storing and releasing all that kinetic energy. But as we cross 35 and into our 40s, things just get stiffer. Those older tendons lose their elastic recoil because collagen drops and essential fluid is lost. And because of this stiffness, your connective tissues actually take 3 to 4 times longer to recover than your muscle tissue does.
There are really 3 major physiological shifts at play here. First, as we just mentioned, collagen turnover drops, which leaves your fascia and tendons feeling stiff. Second, kinetic braking completely overloads your shoulders. And third, rotational torque hits a stiff spine. You've got to remember, punching power comes from the ground up, rotating right through your hips and spine. If your hips are stiff from, say, sitting at a desk all day, all of that rotational stress gets dumped straight into your lumbar lower back. Let's actually look a little closer at that second point about the shoulders. It's all about eccentric deceleration. This right here is the true culprit behind that deep shoulder soreness you feel. See, when you throw a punch, your muscles fire to accelerate your fist. But when you miss, or even when your glove sinks into a heavy bag, your shoulders, your rear lats, and your rotator cuff have to act as emergency brakes to stop your arm from literally hyperextending out of its socket. The power doesn't just come from pushing the arm out. A massive, massive amount of force goes into breaking it.
Moving on to section 3, 3 big training mistakes.
So the crucial point is figuring out what we're doing to make this worse. Mistake number 1 is what we call the volume trap. And let's be honest, this is almost entirely driven by ego. You walk into a boxing gym, you see a 22-year-old hammering out 12 rounds on the heavy bag, and you think, hey, I need to match that volume to get good. You absolutely don't. Young fighters can survive terrible recovery habits because their baseline repair mechanisms are basically running on overdrive. For a mature athlete, excess volume doesn't build skill. It just creates chronic inflammation that stalls your progress for days. Mistake number 2 is ignoring CNS fatigue. Boxing is a high cognitive load sport. You are constantly judging distance, reacting in milliseconds, all while keeping your heart rate up. If you step into the gym after an 8-hour workday full of stress, emails, and back-to-back meetings, your central nervous system is already drained. Adding high-intensity boxing on top of that spikes your cortisol through the roof. And when cortisol stays elevated, your body physically cannot repair muscle or tendon tissue overnight. You're just spinning your wheels. Mistake number 3 is defaulting to static stretching instead of dynamic decompression. When older boxers feel sore, their first instinct is usually to pull hard on cold hamstrings or statically stretch their shoulders before a workout. But listen to this, statically stretching cold, stiff connective tissue before explosive movement actually decreases your muscle power. And worse, it increases your risk of a tendon strain. You need dynamic decompression to prep that tissue, not static pulling. And that leads us perfectly into section 4, our core focus, 3 steps for faster recovery. This right here is the ultimate over 40 blueprint to fix that excessive soreness problem once and for all. Step 1, shift to high intent. Step 2, post-workout decompression. And step 3, fuel connective tissue. Let's break each of these down so you can actually start implementing them today.
Step 1 is all about high intent. You really have to contrast this mindset directly against ego lifting. Stop measuring your workouts by how exhausted you are at the end. Instead of doing 6 rounds of wild, fatigue-heavy bag smashing that just results in sloppy technique and injury, you want to adopt the high-intent approach. You want 3 rounds of hyper-focused, quality work. Crisp technique, sharp footwork, perfect balance. The exact moment your form starts breaking down due to fatigue, you have to stop hitting power shots and instantly switch to light shadowboxing. Quality builds muscle memory. Exhaustion just builds bad habits.
Step 2 is the 5-minute decompression protocol.
I can't stress this enough. The absolute worst thing you can do is take off your gloves and fold your sweaty, stiff body straight into the driver's seat of your car. Don't do it. You must spend just 5 minutes on these specific movements. First, do a 60-second dead hang from a pull-up bar to completely decompress those intervertebral discs. Second, do some 90-90 hip switches to restore your hip rotation so your lower back doesn't take the brunt of your pivots next time. And third, thoracic open books to rebalance your chest and shoulders after being hunched over in a tight boxing guard all session.
Step 3 is fueling connective tissue. We all know muscle tissue needs protein, right? But your connective tissue, your tendons and ligaments, they thrive on hydration, electrolytes, and collagen synthesis. Remember earlier how we talked about tendons losing their elasticity? Well, tendons are composed mostly of water and collagen. If you start a workout dehydrated, you are literally robbing your tendons of their vital cushioning capability before you even throw a single punch.
And a massive, massive part of fueling that recovery comes down to one magic number: 7. 7 hours is the absolute minimum amount of sleep required. Why? Because growth hormone release peaks during deep stage 3 sleep. If you get less than 7 hours, your connective tissues remain in a constant state of micro-breakdown. I don't care how good your diet is, you cannot out-train a lack of sleep when you're trying to repair tendons and fascia.
As we wrap up this blueprint, I want you to keep this really powerful quote in mind. Consistency beats intensity every single time. Age in boxing isn't a handicap, not unless you refuse to adapt. The slickest, hardest to hit fighters in the gym aren't always the youngest. They're the ones who understand timing, efficiency, and how to look after their engine. You don't win by completely destroying your body in one intense session. You win by coming back tomorrow, pain-free, and ready to learn.
And that brings us to the end of today's explainer. I want to leave you with a question to reflect on your own recovery journey. What is the number one area of your body that feels sore after boxing?